Welcome back as we react to week number 6 in the NFL. No more undefeated teams. That's over and done with. It makes you appreciate teams that really go undefeated because it's so hard to do. I figured the Eagles would last longer. I figured the Niners would last longer. They had matchups where they were definitely supposed to win, but that was not the case. So great games there. And even the Detroit Lions have the most wins in the NFL, or they're tied for the most wins in the NFL. So a lot to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, always helps out. And let's get into it. Thursday night gave us the Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. And, please just take the Broncos off national television. We don't have to see it. We've known this since last year when it was the Matt Ryan versus Russell Wilson game on last Thursday. It was last year on a Thursday night. And that was early in the season, too. It was like week 3. We knew since then, don't put the Broncos on national television. There's nothing to see. Their offense was a joke. They had 82 passing yards in the entire game. I mean, I don't know. I know the Chiefs' defense is better, but to have that many passing yards in the entire game with respectable weapons like Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. And by the way, Jerry Jeudy got torn apart on live TV by Steve Smith Sr., so that was awesome to see. I like that. I like when former players really just go after players that have a lot of potential, but for some reason just can't get it right, and I feel like Jerry Jeudy's in that category. It seems like there's a good chance that Jeudy will be traded because now the Broncos are 1-5, and what the hell do you have to play for? So we'll see which team possibly gets him. The other wide receiver, Courtland Sutton, scored a nice touchdown, but that was the only offense really for the Denver Broncos team. Travis Kelce was wide open the entire game. It was one of those games where it just felt like he found the soft spot in the zone, and Mahomes would just pitch and catch with him the entire game, and it worked out to perfection. Isaiah Pacheco played well. It was pretty much Kelce and Pacheco. Those were the only two guys that did too much on offense. Even the rookie Rashee Rice had like 72 yards. So the Chiefs' offense, only 19 points, but they get it done. As I mentioned, their defense looked very good this year, and I'm sure part of that is the Broncos being awful, but still, their defense deserves some credit. Seems like Sean Payton's probably done with Russell Wilson. Not like bench him type done, but I just don't think Sean Payton's enjoying his experience with Russell Wilson as his quarterback. But based on the contract, there's not much they can do about it. So kind of is what it is. Another London game. The Baltimore Ravens beat the Tennessee Titans 24-16. Baltimore goes to 4-2. Tennessee to 2-4. I feel like both coaches were very conservative out the gate. There were times where it'd be like a 4th and 1, 4th and 2 in enemy territory, sometimes even closer. I feel like John Harbaugh had a couple of opportunities on 4th and inches or 4th and 1, and they were inside the red zone. And he was just like, nah, Justin Tucker, he's got it. And I guess it makes sense because Tennessee's offense is so bad and you can afford to play that game. But if you're Tennessee, you got to go for touchdowns because that offense is not very good. Aside from that one Derrick Henry run that went for 63 yards and they didn't even score on that possession, it was a field goal, there wasn't much to really talk about with this Tennessee offense. You get nothing outside of Hopkins sometimes, and he draws pass interferences. Derrick Henry has his 1 or 2 nice runs per game. They have the rookie running back, Tajay Spears, who definitely has a lot of juice. He had a nice 50-yard screen pass in the 4th quarter, almost scored on that. It would have been one of the nicer touchdowns of the year, but unfortunately just fell 5 yards short of the end zone. But Ryan Tannehill got hurt. They do have a bye next week, so he's not, there's not an update yet, I don't think, but we'll see if Malik Willis will be the starter out of the bye. Depends how injured Tannehill is. And as for Malik Willis, the talent's there, but you can also see why he's not playing as a starter just yet because he has a lot of difficulty processing the game. He holds on to the ball way too long. I understand the Titans' offensive line's not very good, and the Ravens had a good pass rush in this game, but Malik Willis took 4 sacks in 1 quarter. And even in some of those situations, the Titans really had to watch out for the clock because, time was against them. And there were situations where you're like, all right, Malik Willis, you can't take a sack here. And then what do you know? He took a sack. So things like that, he has to kind of clean up. But obviously the talent's there. We saw a couple of nice plays from Malik Willis. And honestly, I feel like Tannehill's kind of done. Tennessee's now 2-4 once again. So maybe if you're them, you just give Malik Willis a shot and see what happens. They also have the kid they drafted this year, who I forget now, Will Levis. They have him as well. I know he didn't have the best preseason/training camp, but maybe by the end of the season, he'll be ready to go. But I think Malik Willis probably deserves a shot because you're not going anywhere with Ryan Tannehill. Like, there's no point anymore. Baltimore wasn't too impressive. I think their defense was probably the better part of the ball in this game. Odell Beckham had a nice slant for like 45 yards, kind of like vintage Odell. But aside from that, not much. The run game was kind of weak. Lamar Jackson had a bad interception where I think part of that was like a crappy route by Rashad Bateman, who's another wide receiver with a lot of talent who just can't seem to find it for some reason. So Baltimore was not impressive, but they did enough to beat this underwhelming Tennessee team in London. To the 1 o'clock slate, the Commanders were at the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons were 2.5-point favorites, but it did not go too well because Desmond Ridder came back down to earth after having probably his best NFL start last week. So that was a shame. He showed some signs of like, hey, maybe Desmond Ridder has finally figured it out, but it was not the case whatsoever. So poor Falcons fans. I feel like a lot of people really want Taylor Heineke to play, and that was actually against Heineke's old team, the Commanders. So that would have been a good time to get him in there. And listen, they had their chances. The Falcons absolutely had their chances to come back and win this game, but a bad end zone interception to St. Juste. And on that play, Drake London had a great jump. Like, he was wide open, and Ridder just didn't see it right away. And by the time he saw it, he backpedaled, tried to lob it, and St. Juste was there for the interception, which pretty much ended the game. They had a shot actually to come down and tie the game down 8, but of course, once again, Ridder threw an interception to a guy who basically ran the slant for him defensively. He basically threw a slant to the defender, and that was it. So Ridder, a rough showing for him. The Falcons offense is confusing. They have a lot of good weapons. Like, even Kyle Pitts had a touchdown this game and looks pretty good. But they just need a quarterback to get those guys the ball. So there's always those rumors about, hey, can Kyler Murray be a Falcon next year? I mean, that'd be interesting. So I feel like Ridder's not the answer there long term. It's probably not breaking news by any means. I think we all know that by now. But I get why they gave him a shot coming into this year. He's the younger guy. Heineke, you can only go so far with him, so you might as well see what you have with Heineke or with Ridder. But it has not worked out so far, and I feel like Falcons fans are kind of on their last nerve with this guy. Sam Howell, another young quarterback, had 3 touchdowns and no turnovers, and that includes a horrible drop by Jahan Dotson that may have went for a touchdown. It would have been like a 60-yard touchdown, and Howell put it right in the breadbasket, and Dotson on his only target in the game, another guy who's a talented receiver who can't figure it out. His one target, he drops it, and it probably would have been a big play. I was big on Dotson for fantasy. I think I put him in my video this year for breakouts, and that was a horrible pick. He's on my team, so I'm definitely facing the repercussions of that. So that really sucks. But anyway, Brian Robinson had like a 24-yard screen for a touchdown that made it 24-10. And that was pretty much it. But the Falcons had their chances. Unfortunately, Desmond Ridder is just not the guy. It is what it is. So how long can he last until Taylor Heineke takes over? We'll see how long of a leash Arthur Smith gives him the rest of the year. Minnesota at Chicago. Definitely was not the most fun game to watch this year, but Minnesota gets a win even without Justin Jefferson, so that's good to see for them. Chicago, after a great Thursday night win against the Commanders, it was all coming together. Justin Fields back-to-back 4-touchdown games and feeling good. DJ Moore had like 230 yards. It all came crashing down very quickly. And the Bears score 13. They fall to 1-5. Justin Fields has a thumb injury, which may keep him out for maybe like a month. I mean, I saw some fantasy doctors say like it's a 4-week type of thing with I think it's some type of torn ligaments in his thumb throwing hand. So obviously that may take a while. Maybe you put Justin Fields at running back. Maybe that works out. I don't know. But as a quarterback, that man's not going to play there for a bit. They brought in some guy named Tyson Begent, I don't even know his name, out of Shepherd University. So that's somewhere in West Virginia. They bring this guy in, and he looked okay, I guess. Like, it could have been worse. He did lose a fumble, and it was returned for a touchdown by Jordan Hicks. So there were some downsides, but I guess it wasn't like Nathan Peterman back in like 2017 when he replaced Tyrod Taylor. I do think Nathan Peterman's on this roster too, so I figured he'd be the guy next, but what the hell do I know? But yeah, both of these teams stink. There's not much to take away from here. For Minnesota, you go to 2-4 now. I want to see where they're at in the standings right now. I mean, they are in third place. Technically have the same amount of wins as the Packers. The Packers had a bye, so they're 2-3. But the Lions are 5-1. I don't see them slowing down. So, I just don't see Minnesota doing much this year. It sucks. They had a great year last year, but they already have as many losses as they did the entire year last year. So I don't see them going very far, and I think they know it's not going to happen. So I don't think Kirk Cousins will be traded. You don't see many quarterbacks being traded mid-year, especially one of Kirk Cousins' caliber. I just don't see that happening, so we'll see. Matt Eberflus, the Bears coach, his seat is now warm once again after being a bit cooled off after last Thursday. So we'll see how much longer he's the head coach there for. But without Justin Fields and with these horrible backup quarterback options, things could get even uglier in Chicago. Seattle at Cincinnati. This game should have been way more fun than it actually was. And I did think for a bit we were going to get the shootout we wanted because it was 14-7 Bengals early in the second quarter. It seemed like, Geno and Burrow back and forth trading blows, but it just didn't go that way. So this game was pretty underwhelming in the second half especially. But, as a football game as a whole, it was pretty exciting. It came down to the final few seconds and Geno had the ball on, I think it was the Bengals 10-yard line or something. They were close. It was the Cincinnati 9-yard line. So they were right there. They had a chance to go down and win this game. Obviously down 4, no chance for a field goal there. So, Geno did not look too sharp. The Seattle offensive line did not look too sharp. I give credit to the Bengals pass rush for getting home a lot. The red zone difference was big in this one. So Seattle was 1 for 5 in the red zone. Cincinnati was 2 for 2. That's the big difference. I mean, Cincinnati did not get there very often, but when they did, they punched it in for 6. So, Burrow played pretty well in the first quarter and a half, but after that took some sacks and just wasn't as effective. I do think Burrow looks a lot healthier. We kind of saw this last week in Arizona, but there was a play in this game where Burrow somehow just kept a play alive for 10 seconds. It felt like he moved up in the pocket, made a guy miss, moved back in the pocket, and just held on to the ball for so long, making guys miss, looking healthy. So if you're the Bengals, that's all you could ask for right now. And Cincinnati goes into their bye, so now you have at least 2 weeks for Burrow to get even more healthy. So hopefully that team can come out to bye looking like the Super Bowl contenders that they wanted to be and expected to be. They're now 3-3 on the year. The Seahawks are now 3-2. That game was coming out of a bye for them, so pretty disappointing. DK Metcalf was visibly frustrated in this game. He had a play where he was wide open. Geno didn't see him. I think he might have been sacked on that play anyway. So one of those plays where the receiver was open, didn't see him. And then later in the game, he had another personal foul. This happened a couple weeks ago too, where after a play, he just took a cornerback and just picked him up and threw him on the ground, and that's obviously a penalty. So that happened again to DK Metcalf. I don't know what's going on there with him, but obviously costing his team some yards. So anyway, Cincinnati's in good shape right now. Seattle, I'm not too worried about them. The Seahawks get the Cardinals next week. They're 8-point favorites, so you would think they can hopefully go to 4-2. And for Cincy, there's a couple of really tough games out to bye. They have the 49ers on the road, and then they have the Buffalo Bills at home. So 2 very, very tough matchups in weeks 8 and 9. So rest up, Bengals. You're going to need it because these are some tough games coming up after the bye. San Francisco is on the road at the Cleveland Browns. Lots to talk about here. The Browns win this one 19-17. A really exciting game. Came down to the final kick, and obviously the Niners came up short, or a bit wide right, I should say. But no Deshaun Watson. Again, he missed, his 3rd straight game, basically. So I don't know what's going on there, but I feel like if he gets back healthy, the Browns can actually make some noise this year. But without him, I don't see them going very far. But he should be fine eventually, you would think. But this Browns team has a Super Bowl level defense. They're that good. Jim Schwartz has done, magic with this defense so far. I know Cleveland lost some of their weapons. They lost Deebo Samuel early in this game. They lost McCaffrey for most of the fourth quarter. But what this Browns defense is doing is super impressive. holding a team like this under 20. Was not the best weather either, so I have to include that. But still, the Browns had their injuries. They were missing Batonio, their all-pro left guard. Of course, Conklin's out for the year, their right tackle, and even Deshaun Watson. So they had their injuries, and of course, the Niners can use the injury excuse as well. But still, both teams had a good amount of injuries. There was a brawl before the game, so we knew before the game even started that we were going to get a good one, and that was the case here. Brock Purdy did miss McCaffrey on an easy touchdown. Would have been like a 60-yard touchdown, basically, overthrew him. That would have made it a 17-7 game, but without that, Purdy had a rough day. He definitely did not look like the usual Brock Purdy that we're used to seeing, who looks very cool and calm and makes all the tough throws. He had some ill-advised throws. He had an interception, and it was probably his worst showing since being the starter. I can't think of a game where Purdy has looked worse. I guess that one playoff game where he didn't have his right arm, but that's that's an obvious one. So Jake Moody, the kicker for the Niners, the rookie, of course they moved on from Robbie Gould. He was 1 for 3 on field goals and missed the potential game-winning 41-yarder. Brandon Ayuk had a nice catch to get them in the field goal range right before time expired, but Moody missed that one wide right. So just a crappy situation there for the 49ers. PJ Walker, who started at quarterback for the Browns, he was not that good. I mean, he made enough plays. He gave the ball to Amari Cooper enough times. He made some nice yards after catch, but I feel like PJ Walker just didn't look that good. He almost threw the game away too. There was a play where the Browns were still down by 1. They were in field goal range. They were in the red zone, and Walker rolls to his right and throws this really dumb pass, and it almost got intercepted by a 49er in the end zone. So that would have been very rough. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they get Deshaun Watson back soon. It seems like, once again, this Browns team has potential. I don't know if they're going to be like a Super Bowl contender, but their defense is definitely at that level. As for the offense, especially without Nick Chubb and some other offensive linemen, that's maybe too much to ask for. But, if the offense can catch up, if Deshaun Watson can finally look like the guy that they thought they were trading for, maybe that can happen. I think the 49ers should be fine. Just a rough spot game, a great defense. Purdy's not the type of guy who's going to overcome deficiencies. If you have no Debo, no McCaffrey, a great defense against you, bad weather, that's not an environment for Brock Purdy to overcome. Trent Williams got hurt too. He hurt his ankle. I do believe he came back, so we'll see if he's out next week or not, but he should be fine, hopefully. So just a rough situation there for San Francisco. They were looking unbeatable coming into this game. They were 9.5-point favorites at kickoff too, but great job by the Browns to steal this win and get to 3-2 on the year. The Niners fall to 5-1. Next is the Saints at the Houston Texans. The Saints only put up 13 points. Texans win 20-13. Both teams are now 3-3. So the Saints had 430 yards of total offense and only 13 points. That is the Derek Carr special right there. That's what I call it. A lot of yards and not a lot of points. The Saints were 0 for 3 in the red zone. They had the one long touchdown to Rashid Shaheed, but once they got in the red zone, not much was cooking there for Derek Carr and the Saints. CJ Stroud finally had his first interception, but played well, had just under 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, the 1 interception. I mean, as I mentioned, Shaheed made a couple big catches, but the Texans' defense is actually really good. They're holding opponents to under 21 points regularly, except for that Week 1 game, I believe. But DeMeco Ryans came in there with not the most talent and is doing a lot with that defense. So Houston now moves into second place in the South. They lost to Jacksonville Week 1, so that will not help them. Never mind, they lost to the Colts in Week 2. That didn't seem right. I was like, wait, didn't the Texans beat the crap out of the Jaguars? And yes, that was correct. So yes, they do hold the tiebreaker over the Jaguars right now. They don't play them again until Week 12. So the AFC South, which at one point seemed like a very boring division, may actually be kind of fun. And the two frontrunners may be the Texans and the Jaguars, maybe the Colts, but I don't really count them as much with Richardson out. And Gardner Minshew did not look too good yesterday. So kind of counting them out, but we'll see if they can rebound or not. But yeah, I mean, the Texans are a nice surprise so far. Definitely not like Super Bowl contenders, but can they make the wild card? I mean, maybe. We'll see if they can win this division or not, but been a fun team so far. Colts at the Jaguars, the other AFC South teams here. Not the best showing for the Colts offense, but Jacksonville took advantage. They put up 37 points. They win 37-20. They improved to 4-2. So Jacksonville has looked better. They still don't look right. There's still something off with this Jaguars team, but when you still look off and put up 37 points, it's pretty damn good. So, I do think Trevor Lawrence has another level he can get to. Now, he did hurt his knee in this game, and apparently it's not like a long-term injury, but he may have to be out a week. We'll see the injury reports and see what happens with him, but definitely not long-term, luckily. The running game is a bit better. ETN had a nice first half in this one, a couple touchdowns. Evan Engram had a crazy one-handed catch. Like, they're making things happen. They're spreading the ball around. Christian Kirk's playing well. But as I said, something still seems a bit off with this team. So once they get it together, they should be a lot better. But 37 points. The Colts had, a rough offensive day, couldn't run the ball. Gardner Minshew sailed passes the entire day, had 3 interceptions. Julius Brents had an interception for the Colts as well, their rookie cornerback, second-round pick, and a nice pass breakup as well. So he's playing well, but can the Colts offense survive with Gardner Minshew? I'm not too confident into saying yes with that. So we'll see what happens going forward, but they have a decent amount of weapons. Michael Pittman played well, but I feel like the Colts are just not going to go too far this year, especially with Anthony Richardson most likely out for the year, which really sucks because I want to see the guy play, but we may have to wait until 2024. Dolphins, Panthers. It was interesting at first. The Panthers had a 14-0 lead. Chuba Hubbard scored and Adam Thielen scored, and I don't know how Adam Thielen's doing this. Like, I was so convinced he was washed, but he's actually played really well. He's one of the best 10 to 15 receivers so far, statistics wise. He might be even better. So Adam Thielen, shout out to him. He's doing this at 33 years old. But after a 14-0 lead, nothing really went the Panthers' way. This game was at Miami, and I'm sure you all saw the play where Tyreek Hill caught the bomb touchdown and took the guy's phone, did a backflip, and of course got a flag for it because God forbid these players have fun. But the only blemish on Miami in the second half was a Mike White pick six. And of course, by then the game was over because Tua was out. Christian Wilkins was a stud, 2 sacks and 3 hits on the quarterback. Bryce Young has shown some improvement. He looked pretty good in this game, but does hold on to the ball a bit too long sometimes. Did take 4 sacks. So that's probably the one downside, but he is looking a little better. So hopefully he's getting used to the NFL and maybe he'll get better as the year goes on. Tyreek Hill had 6 catches, 163 yards, and a touchdown on his road to possibly 2,000 yards on the season. That's his goal. But Miami still looks dominant. They were a favorite by 14 in this game, got down 14 early, but still covered the spread. So Miami, they're a very tough team at home. I don't want to play them at home. If you can get Miami in a colder environment, I feel like you have a much better chance, but with this team playing in Miami, good luck. The Patriots were at the Las Vegas Raiders. Kind of felt like a reunion because so many of the former Patriots went to the Raiders. Josh McDaniels, the coach, Dave Ziegler, the GM, a bunch of players. Jacoby Myers caught a touchdown in this game. So it was just a whole Patriots reunion here in Las Vegas. But Mac Jones did it again. He threw one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see. He rolled out, kind of backpedaled and threw this horrible interception to, I think it was Trayvon Morig. I feel like Mac wasn't as bad in this game. He definitely made some throws where his receivers let him down. Most specifically, the Devontae Parker drop on the left sideline with a chance to go down and win the game. And then, of course, the next play, he got safetied, and that was pretty much it. But, Mac Jones still just not looking great overall. Ezekiel Elliott almost had a 70-yard touchdown and got taken off because of a hold by Hunter Henry. So a lot of just missed opportunities, and that's kind of the thing with the Patriots now. They are just not a disciplined team anymore. They used to be so disciplined back in the Tom Brady days, but feels like now they just are a team that makes some of the dumbest mistakes. We did see Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt, another former Patriot, and he was replaced by, guess what, a former Patriot, Brian Hoyer. He came in and hit Trey Tucker, a guy I never heard of until this game. He hit Trey Tucker for a deep shot, 50, 60-yard catch. So Hoyer was not that bad. I thought Hoyer was complete dust, but he actually looked okay. So that was good to see. Jabril Peppers had an amazing hit on Devontae Adams, causing the interception. Not many times do you get away with big hits these days because of all the rules and stuff, but that was just a perfectly timed play. Adams ran the quick slant and he got it, and when he turned his head, he had no time to react, and Jabril Peppers had a legal hit. It popped in the air, intercepted, so that was a good play by him. But yeah, the Patriots offense is just not getting it done still. New England has a a pretty tough schedule coming up. Like, their remaining games are pretty tough for the most part. I know they play my Giants at some point in a few weeks, so that's one easy game. But for the most part, the Patriots have a tough schedule. So this could be like a 4-5 win team, maybe even 3. We'll see how bad they really are. We saw Malik Cunningham get a snap or 2 in this game, so he's kind of lurking back there as a potential Mac Jones replacement. I doubt they'll bench him yet, but we're kind of getting at that point where it's like, all right, well, maybe give someone else a shot. So we'll see what happens there. The Las Vegas Raiders improved to, what are they, 3-3 now, I believe? Yes, 3-3. The Patriots are 1-5. The Cardinals were at the Rams. Rams were favored by, I think, 6.5 or 7. What did this close at? 6.5. And the Rams do in fact cover. So this game actually started out kind of weird. It was a field goal fest. It was 9-3 Arizona right before halftime. Then it was 9-6 at halftime. So all field goals, not the most exciting game. But the second half, the Rams offense came alive, and it was the Kyron Williams show. It was the, who else? They had Cooper Kupp had an amazing game. Rams defense was great. Aaron Donald had 6 pressures, 3 tackles for loss. He is still that guy. Not going to get the recognition he used to because this Rams team is not as good as it used to be overall. But still, they find themselves at 3-3. A wild card spot's definitely possible for this team if Stafford and Kupp stay healthy. If one of those guys goes down, I don't see it happening. But if they're able to stay healthy, it is possible. So this Rams team, they played good defense in this one. Joshua Dobbs, back-to-back rough weeks for him. But they don't have much of a running game anymore with James Conner out, so kind of a shame there for Arizona. They now drop to 1-5 on the year. They have that one random win versus the Cowboys. As I mentioned, the Rams are 3-3. They're 4-1-1 against the spread. So the Rams are surprising people this year, and they're playing good football. We'll just see if Stafford and Kupp can stay healthy and possibly make the playoffs. The Eagles at the Jets. This was one of the more fun games of the day. Started out very weird because when you were watching the game, when the Eagles had their first touchdown, it was Jalen Hurts reaching over the goal line. They called it a touchdown, then I think they reviewed it or something, and they said it was not a touchdown. Then they reviewed it again and said it was a touchdown. A very weird scenario there, but the Eagles do in fact get the touchdown. It was weird because there's the rule where you can't fumble the ball forward in advance or whatever, and they thought Jalen Hurts did that, but it did turn out that he did break the plane, so he did get a touchdown there. But the Jets did enough. They were down 14-3 in the second quarter in this one. Greg Zuerlein made 3 straight field goals to make it a 14-12 game. Breece Hall had the late touchdown when the Eagles intentionally let them score. It reminded me of the Giants Super Bowl back in 2012 when Ahmad Bradshaw was allowed to score by the Patriots defense. And just like the Giants back then, the New York team was able to hold off their opponent and win this game. So a 20-14 win for the Jets. Jalen Hurts had some rough interceptions in this game. It got down to a 4th and 8 on Philadelphia's 27-yard line. Pass fell incomplete. Jalen Hurts had the bad interception. It was a 3rd and 10. And he was looking for, I forget where he was going with this ball. I think it was Dallas Goedert. But there was 2 guys right in the field of vision. I don't know where he was going with that ball, but it got intercepted by Tony Adams. He returned it to the Philadelphia 8-yard line. And at that point, it was a 13-14 game. And the Jets were down 1. So the Eagles did the smart thing. They said, let's let them score and get the ball back. They did, but unfortunately for the Eagles, they couldn't score. The Jets defense was amazing in this game, and the Jets now find themselves at 500, 3-3. So if you guys saw the pregame warm-ups, Aaron Rodgers was throwing passes, standing on his own 2 feet. So he is trying to make this miraculous comeback and be the fastest player to return from an Achilles injury, which I wouldn't put it past him. He definitely looks into new medicine, and we'll see if he finds a way to get back out there in time for the playoffs if the Jets do make it. But I'm still saying he's not going to come back. But, I feel like that's the safe answer. But crazier things have happened, I guess. But for the Eagles, I mean, yeah, it's a tough one. You definitely hate losing a game like that. Jalen Hurts did not look right the entire game. They still cannot get Devontae Smith involved. So I guess you chalk it up as it is what it is. I mean, Zach Wilson didn't play that well. He was 19 of 33, 186 yards, 5.6 per attempt. He was sacked 5 times. I feel like the Eagles defense showed up in this one, but the Jets defense was just a bit better. The Lions were at the Buccaneers. The Lions win this one 20-6. So disappointing showing by the Bucs coming off a bye, only having 6 points. Not a great game for Baker Mayfield, 19 of 37, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And he definitely missed a couple touchdowns. He had a play in garbage time where Chris Godwin was open. He missed him short. His arm may have got hit. I didn't see the replay, but still just a terrible throw. And I believe Mike Evans almost had one as well, but he missed them. And even Trey Palmer almost had one. So the Buccaneers had plays out there to be made. Unfortunately, they fell incomplete. The story of this game is Jared Goff, and even just the Lions as a whole. They've been so good this year. And when Jared Goff was traded to the Lions in the Matthew Stafford trade, I was not too high on Jared Goff. I remember saying, I'm pretty sure Jared Goff's just going to flame out and not amount to anything in Detroit because that's just a bad environment. But turns out they drafted a great offensive line. They had Taylor Decker there already, but they surround him there with a great offensive line, draft Penei Sewell, draft Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams is back. He had a long touchdown in this game. And even Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end, who's been phenomenal. He's probably a top 5 tight end in the NFL already. But what Jared Goff has done the past year or so has been really impressive. I saw someone tweet his stats of the past 17 games. Of course, that's including last year. He has a 27-4 touchdown to interception ratio. Jared Goff has been that good. He's playing in a great structure. Offensive line is great. Running game is great. David Montgomery got hurt in this game, by the way. He might miss a couple weeks, so that sucks. But the running game is usually great. They have good receivers who get open, good offensive play caller, and a head coach who just knows how to motivate his team. So the Lions are a threat. They can definitely make some noise. The NFC is not the best. There's definitely some teams in this conference that are not very good, and that includes the entire NFC South. The Lions are better than any NFC South team by a lot. The Lions are probably top 5 NFC team. I don't see how they're not in that conversation. They're, the Eagles are there, the Cowboys are there. Who else? The Niners. I feel like the Lions might be 4th. You can really put them 4th. So, maybe even put them over the Cowboys. I don't know. They're playing now, so right now they look decent. But the Lions have been that good. So it's been impressive, and I like what they're doing over there. And my guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's been a good fantasy football take for me. 12 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown for Amon-Ra. I mentioned Jameson Williams had the touchdown, 45-yard touchdown, so that was good to see. So, yeah, if the Lions can keep this up defensively and offensively, they'll be fine. They'll be a playoff team, and for them, getting home field advantage is probably big because Jared Goff is better at home. So if they can do that, they can definitely make some noise in the playoffs. Lastly, we have my Giants. They went to Buffalo last night, and they put up an amazing fight, an unexpected fight. I did take the Giants and the points, so they did cover the spread, which was nice. The Giants were actually 16-point underdogs as it closed, and that was the biggest point spread of the entire year so far in the NFL, and the Giants were 1 yard away from winning this game. A phenomenal job by the Giants defense the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, Josh Allen kind of went hero mode and made some amazing plays. His last touchdown pass was something that only him and Mahomes do, and maybe Justin Herbert, so just tremendous stuff by him. But the Bills were scoreless through 3 quarters. That had not happened since, I think, week 3 of 2018. So Josh Allen's third game in the NFL. So the Giants defense was that good. Unfortunately for the Giants, they beat themselves in a lot of ways. I feel like their offensive play calling was not the best, but Tyrod Taylor came in, and the offense definitely looked more competent as compared to Jones. And the Giants, unfortunately, got to the 1 yard line twice and came away with 0 points. That, you can't have that. So that was rough. There was a horrible blunder before halftime where they ran the ball and ran out of time, and they went to the locker room getting no points there. They definitely should have passed the ball or spiked it or something. They came away with nothing. So that was really crappy. And then on the final play of the game, the Giants got down to Buffalo's 1 yard line on a pass interference in the end zone. Unfortunately, the lob to Darren Waller fell incomplete. Definitely a lot of hand fighting there. Probably was pass interference, but they didn't call it. So Teron Johnson got away with one there. But, that's a play that where if you're the road team, you probably don't get that call. They already got one pass interference to play before, so you're probably not going to get two. So just a crappy way to lose a game. But, we'll see what happens with the Giants. They're 1-5 now. They're signing quarterbacks to their practice squad, so I'm led to believe that this Daniel Jones neck injury is going to, hold them out for a bit longer here. They keep saying, the goal is to play Sunday. The goal is to play Sunday. Listen, actions speak louder than words, and them bringing in like Ian Book and some other quarterbacks to try out for this team is not a good look. So we'll see how bad that is. As for the Bills, they're lucky to escape with a victory here. They're 4-2 now. They're coming off a loss last week, and I figured that with the Bills coming off a loss in London last week, they'd be way more up for this game, but I feel like they weren't. Once again, in the fourth quarter, they look much better, but still, that could have been 3-3 if they lost this game. So Buffalo gets pretty lucky there. They do remain in second place in the AFC East. They do hold a tiebreaker with the Dolphins for now because they beat them a couple weeks ago. So Buffalo's still in a great spot, but they have not looked too sharp. And Josh Allen probably had one of his worst games of the entire year, right? Josh Allen was on a roll coming into this game. So, yeah, just a crappy loss for the Giants. Probably should have had it, but that's what bad teams do. They come up short a lot. So, anyway, that's going to do it. As I close it out, it's 10-7 Cowboys. The Chargers just missed on a fourth down, like right near the Cowboys' end zone, so that was a big play. But we'll see what happens here. I feel like the Cowboys, who's supposed to win this one? The live bet is Dallas -1.5. So maybe the Cowboys win, maybe not. We'll see if Herbert and the Chargers can make this little comeback here. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys next time.